When you think of the Caribbean, you probably imagine paradise beaches and luxury cruises. But what if I told you there is a country so small it could fit entirely inside the city of a city, and yet it has 365 beaches, one for every day of the year? Today, we're exploring Antigua and Barbuda, an archipelago with surprising geography, where nature shapes not only the landscape, but also culture and politics. Why do these two islands, so different from each other, form a single nation? And how does such a small population manage to survive hurricanes, colonial legacies, and even pirates? Antigua and Barbuda is an archipelago composed mainly of three islands: Antigua, Barbuda, and Redonda. Located in the heart of the Eastern Caribbean, this small island nation offers a unique and contrasting geography that directly influences its way of life, economy, and even its national identity. Unlike many of its neighboring Caribbean islands, such as Dominica or St. Vincent, which are marked by towering volcanic mountain ranges, Antigua and Barbuda features a low-lying, rolling, and sedimentary terrain. This difference is due to the fact that its islands were formed primarily by limestone deposits and ancient coral reefs, rather than volcanic eruptions. The largest and most populated island, Antigua, has gentle hills and shallow valleys. The third island, Redonda, stands out from the other two. Completely uninhabited, it is essentially a large rocky outcrop with steep cliffs and minimal vegetation. Located west of Antigua, Redonda is a protected ecological reserve and home to several species of seabirds. Interestingly, Redonda was once claimed as a fictional kingdom by eccentric writers and poets, adding a whimsical twist to its geographical identity. Geologically, the islands are part of the Caribbean tectonic plate and are situated in a transition zone between the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. This positioning means the country is affected by both warm ocean currents from the south and Atlantic pressure systems from the north, which influence its climate and patterns of coastal erosion. The country's physical geography also impacts its natural resources. The lack of rivers and the shallow soil depth make agriculture difficult. Most of the fresh water supply comes from rainwater collection and seawater desalination. These limitations reinforce the population's dependence on the sea for fishing, transport, and especially tourism. Additionally, the coastal formations and coral reefs surrounding the islands create natural harbors and sheltered bays, which have been exploited since colonial times as strategic navigation and defense points. A prime example is English Harbour, a crucial British naval base during the 18th and 19th centuries. In summary, even without volcanoes or towering mountains, Antigua and Barbuda's physical geography is rich in detail and contrast. Its terrain shapes not only the landscape, but also the lives of its people, offering key insights into the country's history, economy, and political choices. Antigua and Barbuda is a country with no land borders, composed entirely of islands surrounded by the Caribbean Sea to the west and the Atlantic Ocean to the east. Its location in the arc of the Lesser Antilles gives the nation a strategic role, both historically and in current geopolitical dynamics. The country lies about 650 kilometers 400 miles southeast of Puerto Rico, and its closest neighbors are other Caribbean islands, such as St. Kitts and Nevis to the west, Montserrat to the southwest, and Guadeloupe to the south. While it does not share physical borders, Antigua and Barbuda shares with its neighbors key maritime routes, overlapping exclusive economic zones (EEZ), and common challenges such as hurricane vulnerability and tourism dependence. Antigua serves as the government seat and economic hub of the country. Barbuda, although part of the same sovereign state, maintains a distinct cultural and political identity, and there have even been movements advocating for independence. This raises an intriguing question. Why do so different islands form one single country? The answer lies in their colonial past. Both islands were colonized by the British in the 17th century and were administered as a single entity. After going through various administrative arrangements including, as part of the British West Indies, they gained independence in 1981 and became a constitutional monarchy under a parliamentary system with King Charles III as head of state. The country's location also provides economic advantages. Situated along some of the most traveled Atlantic shipping lanes, the archipelago historically served as a vital stop for both commercial and military ships. Today, the port of St. John's continues to receive large cruise ships and functions as a gateway for tourists traveling between North America, Europe, and other Caribbean islands. Additionally, The country controls an exclusive economic zone of over 110,000 square kilometers, far exceeding its land area of only 440 square kilometers. This allows access to marine resources, such as fishing and potential development of renewable energy, particularly wind and ocean-based sources. However, its geographic position also brings challenges. Exposed to trade winds and tropical storm systems, the country is frequently impacted by cyclones. As a result, Antigua and Barbuda is an active member of regional organizations such as CARICOM and the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States (OECS), seeking solidarity and support in facing these shared threats. In short, despite its small size, Antigua and Barbuda's location on the Caribbean map is full of significance. It shapes its colonial past, its present as a tourist destination, and its future as an island nation striving to balance identity, sovereignty, and regional cooperation. The climate of Antigua and Barbuda is typically tropical maritime, characterized by warm and relatively stable temperatures year-round, with minimal seasonal variation. Average temperatures range between 24 degrees Celsius and 30 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Fahrenheit to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, making the country an ideal tourist destination at virtually any time of year. However, beneath this paradise-like climate lies a reality shaped by extreme natural risks, especially hurricanes. The hottest months run from June through September, which coincides with the rainy season and the official Atlantic hurricane season, spanning June 1st to November 30th. During this period, the combination of high humidity, tropical winds, and warm ocean waters creates the perfect conditions for tropical storms, many of which escalate into devastating hurricanes. The country has experienced severe impacts from such events, the most significant in recent decades being Hurricane Irma in September 2017, with winds exceeding to 195 km per hour, 183 miles per hour. Irma was one of the strongest hurricanes ever recorded in the Atlantic. It made a direct hit on Barbuda, destroying around 95% of all structures and forcing the entire population to evacuate to Antigua. For the first time in centuries, Barbuda had no permanent residents, a rare and striking case on a global scale. Beyond hurricanes, the country also faces threats such as coastal erosion, prolonged droughts, and rising sea levels. Like many Caribbean nations, Antigua and Barbuda is on the front lines of global climate change, which has made extreme weather events more frequent and intense. These phenomena pose direct risks to coastal communities, local agriculture, and the country's tourism infrastructure. Despite these challenges, Antigua and Barbuda has become known for its efforts in climate resilience. After the 2017 disaster, the country implemented reconstruction policies centered on sustainability and disaster preparedness. These include building hurricane-resistant shelters, establishing early warning systems, community education programs, and investments in solar energy and rainwater harvesting systems crucial in a nation with limited freshwater resources. Another important factor in the local climate is the influence of northeast trade winds, which blow across the region for much of the year. These winds help regulate temperatures and bring pleasant breezes that soften the tropical heat. They also contribute to occasional cloud formation and short rain showers, especially in Antigua's higher elevations. Barbuda, being flatter and more exposed, tends to experience slightly higher temperatures and lower rainfall than Antigua. Meanwhile, Redonda, which is uninhabited, serves as a kind of natural laboratory for studying island ecosystems unaffected by human activity. In summary, the climate of Antigua and Barbuda is both a blessing and a challenge. While its endless sunshine and tropical beauty attract visitors from around the world, the constant threat of extreme weather demands vigilance and adaptation. Living in or visiting this country also means recognizing the silent struggle for survival in a time of accelerating climate crisis. The economy of Antigua and Barbuda is heavily shaped by its island geography, strategic location, and limited natural resources. With a land area of just 440 square kilometers, 170 square miles, and a population under 100,000, the country has developed an economy based primarily on tourism, service industries, and offshore financial activities. Tourism accounts for over 60% of the national GDP. The natural beauty of the archipelago, featuring crystal clear waters, coral reefs, more than 365 beaches, and a warm year-round climate, attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors annually. especially from North America and Europe. Cruises, luxury resorts, and nautical sporting events like international regattas are key pillars of the country's tourism strategy. Its proximity to major Atlantic shipping and flight corridors makes logistics for tourism even more favorable. The service sector, which includes hospitality, transportation, trade, and telecommunications, is also highly dependent on tourism. This makes the economy vulnerable to external shocks, such as global financial crises or natural disasters. A clear example of this vulnerability was seen during the COVID-19 pandemic, which brought tourism to a near standstill and revealed the risks of over-reliance on a single industry. Agriculture is limited due to shallow soil, low fertility, and irregular rainfall. In Antigua, small farms produce food for local consumption, such as bananas, sweet potatoes, yams, and vegetables. Barbuda, by contrast, maintains more traditional and sustainable practices, including artisanal fishing and salt harvesting. However, the country still needs to import a large share of its food, making it susceptible to currency fluctuations and supply chain issues. One of the economic alternatives pursued by the country is the international registration of ships and companies. Antigua and Barbuda offers tax incentives and financial confidentiality, which attract foreign businesses and wealthy individuals looking to register yachts, holding companies, and offshore accounts. While this generates revenue, it also draws international scrutiny and requires careful regulation to prevent money laundering and tax evasion. In recent years, the government has diversified the economy through citizenship by investment (CBI) programs. These allow foreigners to obtain an Antiguan passport in exchange for investments in real estate, local businesses, or direct donations to the National Development Fund. It's a way of attracting foreign capital without borrowing, but it also raises concerns about sovereignty, identity, and national security. Geographically, the country's position between the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean provides access to key maritime and air routes, but it also places the islands in the path of hurricanes. This necessitates ongoing investment in resilient infrastructure, elevated roads, reinforced ports, alternative energy systems, and storm-resistant buildings. Additionally, Antigua and Barbuda has strong potential for renewable energy, especially solar and wind power, due to its constant sunshine and northeast trade winds. Clean energy projects are being developed with support from international partners, aiming to reduce dependence on imported fossil fuels. In summary, Antigua and Barbuda is a compelling example of how a small country with limited natural resources can leverage its geography for economic growth, but it must constantly adapt to climate change, global tourism pressures, and the demands of long-term sustainability. Despite its modest size, Antigua and Barbuda holds a rich cultural diversity rooted in its island geography and a history marked by colonization, resistance, and rebuilding. With a population of about 100,000 people, the vast majority live on Antigua, especially around the capital city. St. John's, Barbuda, by contrast, is home to only around 1,500 residents, a smaller community with a strong and distinct identity. Most of the population descends from enslaved Africans brought by the British in the 17th and 18th centuries to work on sugar plantations. This heritage has left deep cultural marks in music, religion, cuisine, and social structure. While the official language is English, everyday communication often happens in Caribbean patois, a vibrant and rhythmic form of expression infused with African influence and local slang. The relationship with the land is central to national identity. On Antigua, communities are spread out across hills and coastal regions, many bearing British colonial names like English Harbour and Falmouth. On Barbuda, however, land use is entirely different. By tradition, all land is held communally, meaning no individual owns land privately. This ancestral practice was preserved after independence and remains a source of pride for Barbudans, who see it as a symbol of equality and resistance against the colonial model of private property. Religion plays a key role in daily life. The majority of the population follows Protestant Christianity, particularly Methodism, Anglicanism, and Adventism. Churches are not just spiritual spaces, but also vital centers for community gatherings and social organization. Religious holidays often blend with Afro-Caribbean cultural traditions, resulting in vibrant, uniquely local celebrations. The country's most important cultural event is the Antigua Carnival, held between July and August. It commemorates the abolition of slavery and transforms the streets into a sea of color, music, and dance. Calypso and soca are the dominant musical styles, and the extravagant costumes, parades, and collective joy reflect both a history of struggle and a present of cultural pride and Black Caribbean identity. Music is one of the country's most powerful cultural expressions. In addition to calypso and soca, you'll hear reggae, dancehall, and even steel pan, the steel drum music that's emblematic of the Caribbean. Music and dance festivals happen throughout the year, especially during the tourist high season. Another defining feature is the strong diaspora. Many Antiguans and Barbudans live abroad, particularly in the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States. Still, they maintain close ties to their homeland, sending remittances, returning for holidays, and even influencing local politics from afar. In summary, the culture of Antigua and Barbuda is deeply intertwined with its geography, not just as a backdrop, but as a living source of identity, resistance, and collective creation. The way people live, celebrate, speak, and organize their lives is profoundly shaped by the physical space of these islands. Although Antigua and Barbuda is small in size, its diversity of urban landscapes, coastal villages, historic areas, and natural reserves creates a surprisingly rich geographic tapestry. The islands offer everything from lively cities with markets and colonial architecture to uninhabited regions with untouched beaches and rare geological features. The capital, St. John's, located on the northwestern coast of Antigua, is the economic and cultural heart of the country. With just over 20,000 residents, the city blends modern buildings with historic churches and bustling local markets. One of the main landmarks is St. John's Cathedral, with its twin towers and Baroque style, visible from nearly every corner of the city. Nearby, Heritage Quay serves as the cruise ship terminal and hosts shops, cafes, and local craft vendors. Here, the contrast between luxury tourism and everyday Caribbean life becomes strikingly visible. English Harbor on the southern coast of Antigua is another standout location. It's a natural harbor surrounded by green hills and home to Nelson's Dockyard, a former 18th century British naval shipyard now designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Restored and transformed into a visitor center, the site features museums, boutique hotels, marinas, and cultural events. The landscape blends naval history, natural beauty, and a laid-back atmosphere that attracts sailors from around the globe. In Antigua's interior, areas like the Cades Bay Valley and the Shek-Hurley Mountains offer less touristy, but equally rich, scenery. Small farms, hiking trails, and villages showcase a more authentic side of the country, where agriculture persists amid rocky soils and tropical vegetation. Barbuda, by contrast, is known for its nearly untouched landscapes. Its beaches stretch for kilometers with no buildings in sight, offering a strong appeal for ecotourism. A highlight is the Coterington Lagoon, one of the largest bird sanctuaries in the Caribbean. It is home to the impressive colony of frigatebirds, with their bright red inflatable chests and massive wingspans. Thousands of these birds gather there during mating season, an awe-inspiring natural spectacle. Barbuda also features limestone caves, such as the 2-foot Bay Caves, which contain ancient petroglyphs and stunning formations. Tourism on the island is focused on eco-experiences and wildlife observation, far removed from Antigua's busier pace. Lastly, there's the island of Redonda, uninhabited and almost inaccessible, located west of Antigua. With steep cliffs and dry vegetation, Redonda is now a protected ecological reserve. Interestingly, it became famous for a peculiar story. In the 20th century, a writer claimed it as the fictional kingdom of Redonda, naming literary successors to its imaginary throne. This whimsical tale adds a fantasy twist to the already intriguing geography of the nation. In such a small space, Antigua and Barbuda manages to bring together bustling port towns, historic ruins, tropical trails, and deserted beaches. A compact geography packed with nuance, perfect for those seeking to discover the extraordinary in the world's lesser-known corners. Antigua and Barbuda shows us that even the smallest countries can hold fascinating geographic secrets. An archipelago of contrasts, luxury and tradition, hills and flatlands, hurricanes and celebrations. If you enjoy discovering places that are off the radar, make sure to check out the other episodes in our Geographic Curiosities Around the World playlist.